Welcome to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger. Badass Direct Sales Mastery is a podcast for rock star direct sales moms who are determined to make their business kick ass. Jenny will share her knowledge of effective sales and recruiting techniques, tips to get what you want from your business, and will interview direct sales professionals and leaders from various companies. The interviews will give insight to how these rock stars got to where they are and where they plan to grow in the future. And now, the direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger.
Welcome back to another episode of Badass Direct Sales Mastery. I'm your host, your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger, helping you whip your business into shape. So now I have with me today Kay Miller. Now, Kay was the first woman ever hired for outside sales for a company called Amerock. She was later hired by the world's largest automotive exhaust company, Walker Exhaust, and became the #1 salesperson in the U.S. Kay is the author of the new book, Uncopyable Sales Secrets. She speaks and consults and loves to work with people who want to make more sales. Kay, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jenny. I told you, I'm so excited to meet you. Everything I've learned has just been awesome.
Oh, thank
your brand.
you.
I love your brand.
Oh, thank you so much. I do too, but I'm slightly biased.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit.
Absolutely. So tell me, so you were the first woman ever hired for outside sales at Amerock. How did that come about and how did that impact your sales process?
I got a marketing degree many years ago, and I thought I would come out of school and get a marketing job. Nope. So I was qualified for sales. I found out, and it was really a tight job market. I graduated in 1982, so probably before you were even born. But I couldn't get a job with one of the big companies like Procter & Gamble that I wanted to. And so I got, what should I say? I got crafty and used my connections and got on with Amerock as the first woman ever hired. And I am actually so glad that that happened like it did, because I learned so much. I feel like I did help, women, open the door for other women in sales, because women are great salespeople. And I really had to overcome a lot of fear and reluctance, because I was working with mostly guys. And, when we think about all sales, you have to get over fear. And actually in the opening of my book, I talk about my first sales call was a disaster. And it really was. It was a disaster. I called on a lumber yard and I had already cased it out. I knew everything about where the office was, where the lumber was, all of that. But the day that I went, they'd just gotten a huge load of lumber. So I pull in my shiny company car. I'm like 24 years old. And there are all these guys buzzing around in their hard hats and Levi's. And I freaked. I ended up backing out of the parking lot and leaving. And so that was a disaster. And you know what? I know that you sometimes use foul language, or I should say foul language, swear words on the podcast. We're not going to swear today, but I'll tell you, there was a lot of cursing going on in that car. I was so furious with myself. And I had really had to sell them on hiring me, because they said, "Are you going to be able to do this?" I'm like, "Of course." And then my first sales call was a flop. But here's a lesson for all salespeople. We've all been through this. You have to get up and do it again.
Yeah.
So you really do. It's so much about mindset, overcoming fear, and just doing it. There's no real way to get over being afraid of something except by doing it.
Yeah.
That's the irony, right?
Yeah. It's, here's the thing. And I'm sure I've said it before on the show. And if I haven't, I know my coaching clients are getting ready to quote me word for word, because they hear it quite a bit too. Like, bravery and courage can't exist without the fear. Bravery and courage don't exist without fear, because if you can do something without fear, it took no bravery. It took no courage.
Exactly. I have heard that. It's, if there was an absence of fear, it's not really courage.
Yeah.
So that is a great point. It just, you really have to get through it. But one thing that I like to talk about and think about with myself and others is that what are the things that we're truly proud of? We're most proud when we do get over that fear and we do conquer something. I mean, that's what shows us who we really are, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think too, lots of people have fear around public speaking. Lots of people have fear around sales. Well, guess what? A lot of sales, especially for those who are in direct sales, network marketing, and MLM, a lot of those two fears actually collide. And so it almost feels like extra fearful because not only are you having to do a sales presentation, but you're having to do a sales presentation in front of a bunch of people you don't know.
Right. It's double trouble.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So you decided from all of this experience now you started at Amerock and then you said you went on to the world's largest automotive exhaust company.
So I've had a very glamorous career. I mean, my nickname, which is still people call me Muffler Mama.
Muffler Mom?
And you know what? Your audience can't see me, but do I look like a muffler mama to you?
No, but you obviously sold a heck of a lot of them to get that name.
I sure did. And I, conquered fear. And then I just really did a whole lot of things right without really having a system or framework. But now then I put that all together in the book because I analyzed what I did and then came up with a system that people can use to make more sales. And really my background is B2B, but my sales philosophy is really about relationship selling, creating a win-win for the customer. Can't talk somebody into something that they don't want to do and then expect them to be happy. It's not going to work. And my niece, when she was just 3 years old, my mom used to babysit her every week. And one time my mom said, Shauna, time to pick up your clothes. We have to go to the store. And Shauna kind of made a face and she said, I don't like to be told.
Oh.
And so I think we don't like to be told. We like to do the buying. We like to make the decisions. And I think I really got that up front, that it's giving the customer the information so they say, wow, that sounds really good. And I want to do that. I want that. But I think a lot of salespeople, and with our products, it's understandable. We're so excited about our products that we're selling. I mean, we talked, okay, I do use doTERRA. I'm not selling in MLM or direct sales, but I love the oils. And I have to say, the gal that we get these from is awesome. She talks to us about, well, what's going on? Are you stressed? Are you this? Are you depressed? Whatever. And then she will recommend these oils. And she's so sincere in wanting to help us. She does a lot of good things. I mean, my husband and I are very good customers of hers, but she really stays in touch. We don't feel like this is all about just the business. She sends us little thank you cards, and it's just that whole relationship. So she really has succeeded at making us say, wait, we want that. We want that. And back when I was selling, I really created a win-win.
Yeah. No, and I think that right there, I mean, again, my podcast listener, if they've been listening for any amount of time, they know that I'm Ohana, and part of the Ohana system is the win-win. Win-win or no deal. Like, that's how you create a safe place, a safe space for people. And when you are in a conversation with someone and they can tell that you are trying to help them win, it's not even a sales conversation anymore.
It changes everything. And I really do feel like that's the only way to be truly successful in sales. Because in relationship sales, you might be able to talk somebody into something once, but if they don't feel like it's a win for them, that's no good. No bueno. And when I used to be in outside sales and make a commission, when I would make a sale, of course, the first thing I would do is calculate how much I'm going to make and call my boss. But I always wanted the customer to be just as excited. Oh, we're going to get this new display and we're going to sell more. We're going to have a better assortment for our customers. We'll make more sales. I always frame it in what is this going to do for you? And it's obvious that if they make more sales, I will make more sales. So it's just really an approach. And I think people can really sense if you have a heart for helping them, it comes across. And that is really, I think, even saying that you're in sales, I like to say, I'm in the business of helping people. That's just what you said.
Yeah. So tell me about I want to dig into the title of the book, which is Uncopyable Sales Secrets. Okay. That seems like an oxymoron, like uncopyable sales secrets. So you can't copy this, except I wrote a book so you can copy it. Tell me about that.
Well, good question. Good question. Well, first of all, secrets are appealing because we want to know. But I look at secrets as something we don't know or we don't know yet. And
Right.
I just listened to part of your interview. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but how did he put it? The difference between where you are and where you want to be are things that you don't know yet.
Yes.
And that is kind of how I frame these secrets. But what is really uncopyable about you, Jenny, and about me, and about every listener on this call is your personality and what you bring to the table. We have a good friend who worked for a distributor for many years, and then he left and went to a different distributor of basically the same products, janitorial, industrial products. After the non-compete was over, almost all the customers went with him and bought the other brand. So it really wasn't about the exact right product. It's what are you going to offer your customers? This guy, his name is Kelly, and our daughter's name is Kelly. And it's very confusing because my husband always talks about Kelly. I'm like, Kelly said this. I'm like, she did? Oh, no, the other guy, Kelly. But like, what? He says, and he means it, nobody will take better care of my customers than I will. And that is, he said, if I keep track of the rebates that are available, I know where you can get stock from other distributors if you're out. All the different things that he does makes him uncopyable. And another thing that makes me uncopyable, when I said my nickname is Muffler Mama, well, when I went to work for this automotive exhaust company, I was just so excited. I was selling to a distributor, but I thought, I know nothing about automotive exhaust systems. I didn't know anything about cars. Yeah. And based on my track record, I wasn't even that great at driving. So I'm like, okay, how do I get credibility and break into this market? Mm-hmm. So I went to one of the muffler shops, so the customer of my customer, and I said, will you teach me to install a muffler? And they're like, seriously? I said, yes. And he looked at what I was wearing. He said, well, the first thing you need to do is go buy some steel toe boots. So this story is just getting better and better, right? I won't go into all of it, but I ended up learning how to take out an old exhaust system and then put the new one in and use welding to put it together. And it was a very comical story, which I tell in my book. I reference the movie Flashdance. Hopefully you've seen that.
I have.
The opening scene is Jennifer Beals and she's welding.
Yeah.
And then you think it's a man at first, and she ends up taking off her welding helmet and she looks gorgeous. Her face is slightly glistening and the curls are, coming right down to her shoulders. So I talk about how I looked versus Jennifer Beals. Not the same. Not the same.
No.
But that story put me on the map. And my point being, what is your story? That's what you can tell me what your story is. You're uncopyable. You're a dom. What if someone else came out and said, okay, I'm going to do the BDSM and I'm going to be a dom? No, that is taken. Mm-hmm. That's taken. You have purple hair. That's taken. We only wear orange. We've have some amazing stories because of the color orange, because we are so consistent with that brand. So, Jenny, you are a perfect example of someone who is uncopyable. You have really wrapped yourself in this brand. And I'm sure you have many stories too. But the stories and, this whole thing with AI, which I use all the time. Oh my gosh, ChatGPT.
Yeah.
You can just ask it anything. You know what? Chat GPT doesn't have any stories.
No.
Chat GPT doesn't care if you win. They aren't trying to be your cheerleader and root for you and help you solve problems and maybe discover things that you didn't even know were possibilities.
Right.
So what your customer is buying is always a big partly you. A big part of it is you. I mean, I have to say the oils that we buy, the gal Crystal that we buy these from does so much for us that it just feels like a lot more than just a product. So that is the secret sauce. And I say secret, and it's, now you know it, but it's also so interesting to see that a lot of salespeople aren't really good at the basics and being brilliant at the basics, one of which I'm not doing much of at all today is listening. And great, I'm on a podcast. I love to talk.
Yeah.
But when I'm in a sales situation, I'm sure, have you said to your kids yet, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason?
Yes.
I'm sure you have.
And I definitely have with coaching, clients as well when they're asking me the questions about how do I get better at sales? And I'm like, how can you know which of your products to sell? Because a vast majority of the direct sales companies that are out there have hundreds, if not 25, 50, 100 products, but some of them literally have hundreds of products. How do you know which one is best if you're not listening to your prospect?
Exactly. And, I think one of my other secrets, which again, I'm revealing, but just think of you as the buyer. It's so weird that we try to come up with these lines, and I read about sales scripts and different methods. And I think, okay, somebody has tried to sell me something with a script and I could smell it a mile away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, have you ever had that situation?
Oh, yeah. Hundreds of times. And those are not the kind of salespeople that I end up buying from.
Exactly. And I'm not saying that you can't have some guidance on what kinds of questions you ask, but I'm doing actually a webinar tomorrow on Think Like Sherlock. And I know we don't have a lot of time, but it's also in my book.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is using your skills of observation and looking for solutions that the customer might not even know about, might not even think about it. I love it when someone says, "Oh, I never thought of that."
Right. Exactly. I mean, to go back to your oils example, right? I was in a BNI group with the person who has now become my oils lady, right? But she kept talking about how it helped with sleep. I don't have sleep problems. So I never associated. Well, one day I walk in, I'm on day 2 of a migraine hangover, right?
Yeah.
And came in, not myself. And because, of course, anytime you're feeling that hangover feeling from a migraine, you're not going to
I've had other kinds of hangovers too.
It feels very similar to that, but without all the fun that happened beforehand.
Yeah, really. I know. I'm like, oh, dang. I just woke up this way.
Exactly. No, exactly. And so she recognized something was off, asked me. I told her that I was on day 2 of this migraine hangover. She ran out to her car, comes back, gives me frankincense oil. And that right there was life-changing for me. And I went, oh, I didn't know that you helped with migraines. You just always talk about sleep. Right?
So that sure opened her eyes that she needs to talk about all the different things. And again, I think that we filter things with our own heuristics.
Right.
What do we use the oils for? What's important to us? It's not always the same as it is for the customer.
Right.
I used the analogy of kind of hotels recently, and a person can decide to take a vacation and go to a Four Seasons and spend $800 a night. You can also go to a Motel 6.
Yeah.
Fun fact, do you know why it's called Motel 6?
No.
When it started, and again, I hate to admit I was around, the hotel rooms were $6 a night.
Oh my gosh.
That's why they're called Motel 6.
I did not know that.
Who knows how much they cost? But the point being, you can't judge what your customer wants. You need to find out what's important to them. And when you can really show them you care, I mean, that's another thing about this AI world is that it's so impersonal. People are depressed and people are disconnected. Just listening to your customers and really caring about them is huge.
Right. Absolutely. And so, I wish that I could distill all of my sales knowledge into one book, but I have not. And so what I would recommend is people go take a look at this book. Now, you have been kind enough to say you've got this nice gift for the badass crew here, which is 5 proven secrets to get in the door. So tell us about that.
Well, I will tell you one of the secrets. And my book is primarily written for B2B, but this could definitely apply to network marketing as well, because everyone uses the same methods to approach people.
Mm-hmm.
So we look at someone else and say, oh, they're doing, I don't know, Instagram Reels. And so I'm going to do Instagram Reels or whatever. And you need to find a way to be different. And one of our tried and true methods is using greeting cards. And I mentioned that we used send out cards for years, and now we use mailbox power. But that has helped open doors so many times when I couldn't get through any other way. And this brilliant part that you can do there is to use a picture of them or their dog or whatever. So I have things that you can do not only offline, but I think offline is really a winner. But of course, it costs more. But some online things you can do, like, if you want to send an email, you can record a short video using Loom or something like that.
Yeah.
And stand out. So I do have some great techniques that have worked for us and worked for our customers, and I really do think would work for anybody listening. And I think that you should really grab that.
Absolutely.
UncopyableSales.com/badass.
Yes.
That is the link you can use to get it.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to say it again. It's uncopyablesales.com/badass. And of course, those who have listened for many years or just many episodes, they all know that you can find the link in the show notes. And if this is your first time ever listening to this podcast, or frankly, any podcast, and you're like, show notes, what are the show notes? The way you're going to
Where have you been? If this is your first time, come on, people. I bet that's 0 people on this podcast.
Well, 0 people for the ones who've been listening to this show, but somebody's got to start somewhere, right?
Right. You're right.
But just in case you're wondering how to grab that, you're just going to grab your phone, as long as you're not driving, click on today's episode, scroll up below Kay's picture, and you're going to see her contact information, key takeaways, and of course, that link, uncopyablesales.com/badass. So that way you don't have to worry about spelling it right. We will have it correct for you right there. And we will also have her LinkedIn link. So if you want to connect with Kay directly to have a conversation with her more about the book or this 5 proven secrets to get in the door, you can reach out and connect with her through LinkedIn, which I've already done. So you can already go check her out there.
And can I add one more thing, that my book, of course, is on Amazon. So if you're curious to know more about how I became Muffler Mama and my funny stories, my book, as you could probably tell, has a lot of humor in it. So I encourage you to go grab it. And I have an audio version too, and I narrated it. There you go.
I love those kinds of things. That's always so great. And I think it's so important for the author to do their own reading, because then they can put in the tone and the fun vocal things that they really meant when they were writing a particular line, And so you really get to hear what matters to them. I love that.
And it is scary. I didn't want to do it, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But we talked about courage is, the fear.
Mm-hmm.
Fear that you have is what makes you courageous and brave. So I made myself do it. And is it perfect? I can still listen to it and say, oh, and this wasn't quite right. But when you listen to professional book narrators, I just thought, I can't do it. Because again, my personality, how charming am I?
Yeah, you're wonderfully charming, of course.
So is everybody listening, and so are you. So, the more you can do to really let your personality shine, I think is just a golden piece of advice.
Yeah, especially in the sales world. Like really, really, really be you, and that will attract in the right people. So, Kay, this has been so great. Thank you so much for sharing your brilliance here on the show. I really appreciate you.
Well, thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Jenny. You brought my brilliance out.
Oh,
very talented. So really fun. I can't wait to hear the episode. And as I said, I've been having fun listening to your other episodes too. Really good stuff.
Good. Thank you so much. I love hearing that. Oh gosh, because that's what I want. This podcast is all about really getting great information out there to the people who need it the most, because a lot of the people in the direct sales and network marketing world are coming from typically they're coming from service-based industries. So, nursing, teaching, where they're providing services where they're not having to do the sales portion. So, if I can get the content out and help them build their business, shorten their learning curve a lot faster, that's what this show is about.
So you're also helping people. And how good does that feel? You're right.
I love it. I love it when I have listeners, when my badass crew reach out and say, oh my gosh, I totally love that episode with Kay. I totally love that episode with insert guest name here. That to me, is gold for me, as that fills up my personal jar.
I know. And you know what? It's like they say in the Hokey Pokey. That's what it's all about.
I love it. Did you think you were going to be singing today?
You know what? I have actually, we probably are running out of time. I'll just say that I have made more of an effort to let my personality shine, because, it is hard when you're in front of people speaking on video, on audio. We pull in, and that's not what's going to get us ahead. Right. It's being authentic and being real, maybe a little bit goofy, embarrassing, whatever. So yeah, I didn't think I was going to sing, but I'm not surprised that I sang.
I love it. Well, badass crew, you know how this goes. Make sure you go check the show notes to grab the links to her gift and also to connect with Kay on LinkedIn. And of course, stay tuned, because there's another badass episode on its way.
Thanks for listening to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger. Why are you waiting to go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com? Don't make the dom get her whip. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with another rock star that you know in direct sales after you subscribe to the podcast, so you won't miss any future episodes. You can also check out the show notes for links and any contact information mentioned in today's episode. We'll see you next time.